Hi, welcome to Philly Jazz Talks. I'm Suzanne Cloud, Project Director of the Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project. And this evening, we're going to be talking with saxophonist and composer Odin Pope, a friend and musical collaborator with Hassan Ibn Ali, producer Alan Sukoenig, who discovered the long-lost acetates along with a tag team of his that were thought destroyed in a warehouse fire, and Cheryl Pawelski of Omnivore Records, the company that's restored the album in question here, Metaphysics, the lost Atlantic album of Hassan Ibn Ali. It will be released on April 23rd. The personnel on the project recorded on August 23rd and September 7th, 1965 at Atlantic Studios, New York City, where Hassan on piano, Odin Pope on tenor sax, Art Davis on bass, and Khalil Mahdi on drums. Now, before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about the organization. The Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project is an organization whose mission is to establish a permanent jazz archive of the Philadelphia area jazz artists through recordings, video interviews, manuscripts, material culture like photographs, programs, posters, anything that relates to Philadelphia jazz and its history. I'd also like to thank the Philadelphia Cultural Fund for sponsoring these monthly talks. And second, I'd like to announce what is coming up this month. We're having two this month, and it just so happens it's Jazz Month. On April 21st, our Philly Jazz Talk will feature bassist Daryl Beasley and Mike Boone discussing some of Philly's greatest basses. To get a reminder of these events and other Philadelphia Jazz Legacy work, please go to our website at phillyjazzhistory.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Now, I'd like to introduce a dear friend of mine, a great musician, Odin Pope. Saxophonist, composer, and educator, Odin Pope was born in South Carolina to musical parents who moved to Philly when he was 10 years old, just in time for him to share the city with such jazz greats as John Coltrane, Lee Morgan, Clifford Brown, Benny Goldson, Hoy Tyner, Jimmy and Percy Heath, Archie Shepp, Jimmy Garrison, Philly Joe Jones, and Dizzy Gillespie. In fact, some people may not know this, Coltrane chose Odin to replace him in Jimmy Smith's group when he left for New York to join Miles Davis. Jimmy Smith was another Philadelphia area organist who was a major giant on the Hammond B3. Odin has never stopped studying and searching. As long as I've known him, he's been wide-eyed and ready to get into things. Early on, he was mentored by Ron Rubin, the principal woodwind player in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and later he studied at the Paris Conservatory for Music under Kenny Clark. Odin also studied with pianist Ray Bryant, bassist Jimmy Merritt, and was significantly influenced by the brilliant pianist Hassan Ibn Ali, who we're going to be talking about and listening to tonight. In the early 70s, Odin co-founded the groundbreaking jazz fusion group Catalyst, whose repertoire of original music was reissued in 1999 on 32 Records as Catalyst, the funkiest band you never heard. It was music way ahead of its time. In 1979, Odin joined the Max Roach Quartet as a regular member for more than 2 decades. Odin has many recordings as a leader, which includes his prize saxophone choir, Two Dreams, Mystery of Prince Lasha, Serenity, Locked and Loaded, What Went Before, just to name a few. And if you go on his website, which I'll give you the URL later, you'll be able to check out everything that's there. All of these recordings have been critically reviewed and acclaimed. Odin Pope's artistry as a performer, composer, arranger, and educator has earned him 3 citations from the city of Philadelphia. Also, among many of his awards are the Pew Fellowship in the Arts, the Rockefeller Foundation, several from Chamber of Music America, and in 2017, Odin Pope who was honored to be the recipient of the Mid-Atlantic Living Legacy Award. So welcome, Odin. Now I'm going to introduce someone who's very special to this project. We're joined by Alan Sukoenig, who was introduced to jazz when he was 14 at a summer camp in Vermont by fellow camper Larry Fink. 8 years later, they'd be working on a very important project. Larry Fink would provide the album cover photo, and Alan would contribute the liner notes for, wait for it, the Max Roach Trio featuring the Legendary Hasaan LP. In the spring of 1962, Alan memorably met Hasaan at his parents' house. A book was on the sofa, and Hasaan cautioned Alan against committing a very dear and primal philosophical sin when he warned, "Don't sit on my metaphysics." In 2017, Alan became a member of a tag team that discovered in the Warner Tape Library a copy of Hassan's never-released second recording, whose master tape had been destroyed in a fire. Along with Alan tonight, we're also honored to have Cheryl Pawelski with us tonight. She's a two-time Grammy Award-winning producer who for the past 30 years has been entrusted with preserving, curating, and championing some of music's greatest legacies. She has produced or supervised recordings, reissues, box sets for a diverse army of artists, including Aretha Franklin, the Beach Boys, The Band, Miles Davis, Rod Stewart, Otis Redding, Bette Midler, Nina Simone, Willie Nelson, Warren Zevon, the Staple Singers, John Coltrane, and a host more. Before co-founding Omnivore Entertainment Group, she held positions at Rhino, Concord, and EMI Capitol Records. She has served as governor, secretary, VP, and trustee for the Recording Academy, and currently serves on the board of directors of the Blues Foundation. Welcome, all of you. Here's Odin. Yeah, there you go. Hi, Odin.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you so very much for that introduction. First and foremost, Hasaan was inspired by that generation of local great musicians who was foundational in the evolution of jazz music here in Philadelphia as well as worldwide. And Hasaan was a walking institution. And I'm just so grateful that I had that wonderful opportunity to share with him some of the extraordinary concepts and his whole system of playing music. He had a whole system by himself. And Philadelphia, as you know, has a great legacy of turning out great young musicians. And for whatever reason, it's just one of the arenas that we think about when we look at some of the great minds that was produced right here in Philadelphia. Hasaan came past my house and knocked on the door on my window, and I went upstairs. And when I opened the door, I looked and saw this very intelligent young man down, fully dressed with a short tie. So I thought that was kind of strange for him to have a little short tie. But anyway, he asked me, he said, "Odin, would you be interested in coming to share it with me?" So I told him I would be delighted to share it with you. So he said, "Well, can you come to my house, my parents' house, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?" 10 minutes to 9, I was at Hassan's house, and his father opened the door and invited me in to just relax. 9 o'clock sharp, Hassan came running down the steps and went right directly to the keyboards. He started practicing. 10 minutes later, his father brought him his breakfast to the piano. Once he finished his breakfast, he asked me to take my horn out. So his whole system was, you should try to learn the music without reading the music, because if you constantly read the music, you will not put the correct feeling. So he said, "Well, look, I'm going to introduce you to my composition through the keyboards. And if you have problems, then I will bring the music out." So when Hassan finished his breakfast, we played, and And around 5:30 that evening, his mother was a domestic worker, and she came in and brought him 2 packs of Viceroys, was one of the compositions, 2 packs of Viceroys, and she gave him a couple of dollars. So Hassan asked me, he said, look, I have about 4 or 5 houses where I go every night and play from around 7:30 to 11:30. So he said, would you be interested? I said, I would definitely be interested. So he said, you must dress, you must have a tie, and you must dress up. So 7:30, 7 o'clock sharp, Hassan was at my house, and we went to these houses, and we played some music, and the people was very, very inspired by Hassan's unorthodox system. Hassan was the epitome of greatness. You know, he was the kind of person that he practiced. I think him and John Coltrane had a thing going on. Who practiced more? John Coltrane or Hassan Minal. But the system that he was using, which was the raised 9 and the augmented 5, which means if you have a C7, you go to the raised 9 and play an E flat major 7 against that C7, and it works. And if you think it in terms of the augmented 5, which is the like G minor C7, you go to the G minor and you play an augmented 5. So he had some really, really very unique chord changes and things that he was using during that time. And I was just so grateful and so humble and so blessed to be working and practicing with this great man during that time.
Dean, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to find out how old were you when you met Hassan?
Hassan, I was probably around 13.
Okay.
I was around 13, and
now he was about 10 years older than you, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, and he now when you first started playing with him, did he just say, well, let's get rolling with some standards, or did he just start right in on his compositions?
Well, he was a great believer. It's very important that you write your own compositions. You know, it's good to play standards. Standards is very good, but when you can write your own compositions and get people to listen to them and explore his whole system, what he was using, I think it was a great assessment. Hassan, again, there's no words that I can really express that would depict the epitome of this great man.
Okay, we're going to play the first cut on the album called Atlantic Ones. Can you tell us something about the composition, or?
Yeah, the Atlantic Ones was dedicated to Atlantic Records. And he wrote this composition, Atlantic Ones, because he was very inspired by the Atlantic Records and the idea that Max Roach had recorded him, and also made it possible for him to record his quartet. So he was so grateful and so humble that he said he was going to compose and write a composition dedicated to the Atlantic Records.
Okay, well, let's first of all, he's our technician once again. Put up a picture of Odin and Hassan that we have here for the presentation. Yeah, this is something that Odin didn't even know existed. I don't think it did, Odin, did you?
I didn't know this existed. No, I did not. Thanks to Alan that he found this. This is an incredible photograph.
It's wonderful. You look so young, and well, we all look young when we're young, right?
Yeah, well, you know, Hassan really took me on his arms and said, well, look, I think you and we can do some great things together collectively as well as individually. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you like vertical concepts of what I'm doing. I'm not going to give you any music. You will not get any music for the next 6 weeks. You learn everything from the keyboard. And I think that was a great testament telling me that he was the kind of person he wanted you to utilize your concept to put your input in it. He would really never tell you, in a sense, what to do. If you asked him what I should do here, he said, well, look, I want you to create something and be very creative and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Let's pursue risk-taking and creative ideas. And this was his whole thing about playing music and improvisation. He was a great, great improviser and a great, great composer, as well as he was just an incredible man.
He must have thought you were so special.
Well, he looked at me one day and he said, what are your thoughts about what you're doing? So I said, well, my thoughts is I need to study, I need to study, I need to practice, I need to practice. I need to practice more and more. I need to really get with you more and more and just really get a sense of what this great, great music that you're playing, because it was something very special, something different. And Train and I, we used to get together with Hasaan periodically and practice, the three of us. Train would come over and I would be there and we would play. The concept Train would play long tones for about 2 hours. And we would play, Hasaan and I we would play like the scales, the augmented ninth and the raised five. We would utilize and exhaust all the possibilities in that particular scale. In other words, like walking into this dark room with nothing but strings, and each string you pull, you create something from that. So this was Hasaan's philosophy. He wanted you to be creative. He didn't want you to say, well, tell me what to do. He said, well, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You just go ahead and do it.
That's great. I mean, oh my God, what a wonderful way to learn. All right, Lex, let's put up, this is the cut Atlantic ones, which starts off this project. So let's all listen. Beautiful. Absolutely terrific. I was so totally blown away by this whole record. I can't tell you. Um, just for everybody who's putting everything in the chat room. Yeah, we're gonna have a Q&A, so we'll get to you. All right, I want to introduce. I want to bring Alan into the story now. Alan, are you there?
I am here.
Uh, all right. Tell me about. I know you got tons of stories, but I want you to tell me about the first time you met Hasaan. In fact, that's that photo in back of you. Say about the photo first.
Well, the photo in back of me, I took that picture at a club in North Philly. I don't remember the name. It was on the second floor. I think it was a block or two west of North Broad Street. And I think it was in 1963, but it could have been in 62. I'm not sure. And that was the only gig that Hasaan played during the years that I knew him that I was aware of. He might have had others that I didn't know about, but that was the only one. And Odin showed up at the gig just as I was leaving. We didn't know each other at that time, Odin and I, and we hadn't met. I'd heard him play, but we'd never met. And for whatever reason, I had to get back to where I was living and left after the first set. But I got a chance to take a picture of Odin, unfortunately, not with Hasaan, who was only a few yards away. So that's about that picture. Now, the question that you asked me, Suzanne, how I met Hasaan. Okay, it goes like this. My friend Dave Schreier, who was a very fine saxophonist, tenor saxophonist, who used to sit in at clubs around Philadelphia. One day in the winter of 1962, he told me with great excitement that he had just heard an incredible pianist who sounded like a logical extension of Thelonious Monk with technique like Bud Powell. So that really excited me, and I couldn't wait to hear him. But the next thing I knew, a few weeks later, Dave told me that Hasaan was in prison. And so after that, some weeks passed and winter turned to spring. And I was up one evening on the third floor of the Student Union building at University of Pennsylvania, where I was a student. And I was using the room to practice long tones. And while I'm playing, all of a sudden I hear the sound of a piano coming up through the air vent near the floor, coming up from the floor below. And I listened a few seconds, and I said, I know Hasaan is in prison, but that's got to be Hasaan, based on Dave's description. And I packed up my horn quickly and ran down the stairs to the second floor, where there was an auditorium. It was empty, and except for Hasaan and Dave. Hasaan was there at the piano, and Dave, I think, had his tape recorder there. I'm not sure. So Dave introduced us, and excuse me, and we became friends. Right after that, Hasaan was a very warm person, very kind, friendly person, open person, I thought, and that's that. Now, let me see if that finishes the story. Oh, the one comment I wanted to make about that is that I still ask myself, how did I know that was Hasaan? Because while Dave's statement that Hasaan was a logical extension of Monk with technique like Bud Powell, that enabled me to identify him. But I don't think that Hasaan sounds like a logical extension of Monk, and his technique is very different from Bud Powell's technique. So the only thing I can think of is that the word technique is used popularly to mean finger speed. It doesn't really mean that. It means a whole lot more than that, but that's how people use it. So maybe I was applying that meaning, and Hasaan certainly could play very, very, very fast. And then the fact that I was hearing something new, and what Dave had told me prepared me to hear something very new, and that's what I was hearing. So maybe that's how I came to the conclusion this must be Hasaan. I'm pronouncing his name wrong. 2.5 years ago, Odin explained to me that Hasaan, although the spelling with the 2 A's in the second syllable makes you want to say Hasaan, he actually called himself Hassan. So I'm trying to get that, make the transition, but it's, after so many years, it's difficult.
Yeah, everybody in Philadelphia, there was always a very huge aura about when they talked about the legendary Hasaan, and people would almost talk about him in whispers because they knew that there was something special about him, and it seemed like there were a lot of people who had stories about him, but nobody really knew him very well. How long did you know him, and what was he like as a person?
Well, I knew him from the spring of '62 until the winter or maybe spring of '65, because I moved to New York along the way. And I'm so sorry that I lost touch with Hassan. I'm so sorry. And what he was like as a person, I think I've already mentioned. He was a very warm person and a very interesting person. He was unique, as all people are, but he was particularly unique.
Well, let me see some of the pictures that you brought with you. Lex, you want to put one up there, and then Alan can talk about it? You took this, right, Alan?
I took this picture at a place in Greenwich Village, New York, called gee, I knew the name yesterday, and I'm blocking on it.
That's
the Village Purple Onion, I believe was the name.
Oh,
It was very on West 3rd Street. It was very close to where the Blue Note is now. Maybe just 1 or 2 doors away. Excuse me. And it was taken during the daytime. The owner had let Hassan practice during the daytime when the club was empty. And Hassan called me and said, "Come on down." So I came down with my camera and took this picture, a few others.
that's a lot. It's a great picture. It looks like he's just inviting us in on that picture. It's a wonderful photo. Wonderful. You know, now the other one, you have the other one here that's got Odin in it, right? The one that you took,
Yes.
the one in North Philly.
Yes.
There's Odin.
Now, where Odin is standing is very close to where the bass player is. And then from the other picture with the trio, the 3 people, you can see the bass player is very close to Hassan. And it's a pity that I couldn't get a shot of them together.
Yeah, that's Jimmy Garrison on bass, right?
That's what Odin said.
Odin is yeah, that's Jimmy Garrison, I think. Who's the drummer? Does anybody know?
I remember his name as being David Jackson. Odin, does that ring a bell? David Jackson?
That's his name. Dave Jackson was his drummer.
Uh-huh. Is he still living?
No, I think he passed.
Oh, sorry.
Well, these are some great photos. And Odin, what picture is that above you in this picture? Do you remember?
This was a place on the 2nd floor that Hassan would, periodically go and play. And your people would, give him a few dollars and they would let him play, and he would really expand upon, what was going on during that time. I think he uses music to utilize the political and the social issues of his time. He was very, very Alan said. He was very, very warm person. And for somebody to be playing like that with that technique, I mean, he could play the fastest piece and make it sound good. He could play the slowest piece and make it sound good. I never heard him play something that I didn't like. He was so flexible in terms of what he was playing, and he was dedicated to being the greatest that he could be. And he always was striving for the next level.
Wow. Okay. Well, Lex, now we're going to bring Cheryl up. I got a couple of questions to ask the woman who's brought this gentleman pianist to life here with a lot of help from a lot of different people. The floor is yours, Cheryl.
Well, just thank you for having me. It's you know, I just, my job is to tell the stories, honor the music, make it as great and quality as it can be, and get out of the way. So it's just really fun to be here. And, you know, it's not often that I get to have people like, I'm enjoying this. I hope everybody's enjoying this because the stories are phenomenal. You know, I have the music, but you know, these guys knew him and got to play with him and got to see him play live. And that's just really amazing. So, you know, I'm having a ball. I'm just the fan over here.
So Cheryl, tell me when you first heard about this project and that it had been found and somebody wanted to do something with it, maybe some of the problems with it, what you had to solve to get this together to be what it is now.
Yeah, well, my company, Omnivore, owns some sound recordings. We own some master recordings. This one is obviously an Atlantic record, and it's owned by the Warner Music Group. So one of the things that we had to do is work out a deal with them. Now, fortunately, both Patrick, who was mentioned before, and I have worked, or Patrick is presently working for the Warner Music Group. So that was helpful in securing the license. The other thing is, you know, this is the CD booklet. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the tape box, and it says on it, dubbed from reference acetates. So what that means is we're 2 layers away from the original tape. So the tape that was destroyed got laid to an acetate, which then got laid to another piece of tape. So this is why we have the immeasurably talented Michael Graves, who to me, I couldn't do a lot of the work that I do without him, because
well, let's put a picture up of Michael Graves.
oh, yeah, I think this is Mike yesterday. There he is.
There he is.
In his studio with all his fancy Grammys. He's really one of the best restoration engineers on the planet. And we both have similar styles. In a way, you know, Patrick and I do too. We both work so well together because we have, our goals are the same. And that's everything from sound quality and what you're going to do to it, because some engineers make different aesthetic decisions, right? Mike and Patrick and I are all sort of on the same wavelength. But he's, I call him Magic Mike. He helps save things from the you know, dust heap of history. And this is certainly not one of the more damaged recordings that we've ever worked on, but I think he made it sound really, really fantastic. So I hope everybody enjoys that.
It does sound wonderful. Now you're selling a double LP and a double CD, or one CD?
It's 1 CD and 2 LPs.
Okay.
And the album is pressed at QRP because we felt that we were able to get the restoration up to such a degree that it merited a really super nice heavy piece of vinyl. And we made jackets in the old tip-on style. There it is. Um, and those were done at Ross Ellis, and the first 1,500 are numbered on the back. So the very first pressing is a limited pressing of 1,500, and then the CD is one CD in a digipack with a booklet.
Okay. Well, I know you're going to be selling a lot of these for especially people from Philadelphia are going to
All
love
right,
it.
let's
And
go.
it's an absolutely wonderful recording. I was in heaven listening to it. All right, well, we're going to go over some chat questions here. So everybody get ready. Odin and Alan, I think some of your family members are on here.
I know, I saw those questions coming by.
All right, let's start at the beginning here. All right, wait a minute. All right. Okay. This is from Bertrand Overall. Was the tape actually in the Warner Rhino archive? This is part of the story that amazes me.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was. And I'll just say, you know, when you're looking for things in tape vaults, they might as well not exist if you don't know what you're looking for. So it's really important that, you know, you have people like Alan and Lewis out there who can, Lewis Porter, who can say, we think it's here, go find it.
Okay.
Because, you know, otherwise it's just sitting on a shelf.
Okay.
Suzanne, could I make a little appendage to what Cheryl just said?
Sure.
I was intending to mention this earlier when she mentioned Lewis's name. The way this happened was that when I retired, I used to be a computer programmer, and I retired in 2014 and decided to try to do something with Hasaan's tapes. That I have some tapes also that I made, solo piano. And in the course of looking online for information, I found this rumor that a copy was thought to exist. And I tried to pursue that, and I got nowhere. And then one day, 4 years ago, I received an unexpected email from Lewis Porter, whom I did not know, although he said we spoke in the 90s once on the phone. And I took he asked me a few questions about Hasaan. Apparently, some people in Philadelphia who were very likely on this call were asking him about what he knew about unissued Hasaan, and he remembered that I had recorded him and so on. So when he contacted me, I took the opportunity to ask him about the rumor, and he immediately gave me Patrick's contact information, Patrick Milligan's contact information. I got in touch with Patrick, and in less than 2 hours, or about 2 hours, I guess, he got back to me and to Lewis and told us that the tape existed. And then it was a long process after that, getting from there to where we are now. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't use too much time.
Oh, no, you don't worry about it, Alan. We have a question from Mark Sukoenig, and this is for Odin. When you met Hasaan, Odin, was he still by his other name, William Langford, or was he by then Hasaan?
No, he was really Hasaan. You know, I periodically, when I speak of Hasaan, sometimes I say Hasaan and sometimes I say Hasaan.
Right.
But he used to think of himself as being Hasaan.
Okay.
I mean, which Hasaan.
Right.
But Hasaan, he was the kind of very, very, very warm person who would always trying to move forward with new ideas and new risk taking. And he was just a great person. I mean, I'm just so grateful that I had that wonderful opportunity.
Okay, thanks. We have someone, Ellen Diamond, who's here, and she said she listened to Fresh Air today and was really blown away by his playing. And I just want, that's her remarks here, and I'm glad you're here, Ellen, and I hope you buy one of these CDs or an LP. We have another question here. This is from Graham C, and this is to everyone. Did Hasaan have a friendship with Richie Powell before Richie died?
Yes. Richard and Bud Powell, they lived in Jenkintown. As a matter of fact, Bud Powell is buried in Jenkintown. So Hasaan and Richard Powell was very, very close. They used to practice together. As a matter of fact, I played with Richard quite a few times. Richard was the person who always was influenced by Hasaan. And he would tell Hasaan all the time, he said, well, look, Hasaan, you really inspire me to reach out to different concepts and different ideas. And I'm just so grateful that I lived during your time, because for me to live during your time and to reach out into all of the different concepts that you were doing so many concepts of like a B flat 25. So he was, let me just say this. Every musician came out of Philadelphia during that time, they played one or three of Hasaan's notes. Hasaan was influenced, he influenced so many people. And there was a place called the Woodbine Club where all the musicians used to go and just play and exchange ideas and just have a good time. That was from 4 o'clock in the morning to around 8 on Sunday morning. But when Hasaan would get on the piano and play, all the saxophone players would get off the stand.
I wouldn't doubt it. Now we have another question from the same Graham C to everybody. Did he ever meet Sun Ra when Sun Ra moved to Philadelphia? Did Hasaan have any contact with him?
I don't think Hasaan had any contact with Sun Ra. Hasaan was the person who stayed home and practiced. He didn't move around that much because, first of all, it wasn't too many places that would hire him to play, So his parents, he never had a day job.
Okay.
And his parents really supported him 200%, because his father, I just can't imagine, how his father must have felt by him. He was very grateful that Hasaan was his son.
Right.
And he would do anything for Hasaan, he was a great man. And he said that Hasaan, to me, if he's doing what he wanted to do, then that makes me happy.
Wow, for all of us to have parents like that, Okay, we have another question from, let me see. Well, it's a question from Wayne. He said he's ordered the vinyl from his local brick and mortar record store. I didn't know there was any of those left.
Well,
He
sure.
would be interested in a numbered edition of the 1500 that you mentioned, Cheryl. Does he have to stipulate that on his order?
No. The first pressing right now, the things that are in stores or from our website or even from Amazon, that first pressing will be numbered, and we'll do another one that's unnumbered at some point. But all of the first 1500 are numbered, and they'll be out there in the world. But it seems like there's a lot of interest, so I would get it soon.
How much? Since you're talking, how much is the LP?
Oh, well, it depends. I can't tell you that because no, the retailers set their own price.
Oh, that's right. That's true.
Right. So
that's true. So, all right. Well, let me see what else we got here. This is from Jack McCarthy, my partner in crime at the Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project. His question is, did anyone listen to the informal solo piano recording Hasaan did in Max Roach's apartment? It ended up in the Max Roach collection at the Library of Congress.
Yes.
Alan, can you speak on that?
Yes, I went to the Library of Congress. I don't remember the year, several years, 3 or 4 years, 4 years ago, I think. And I heard it. And it's excellent. It's very similar. It's similar to the tapes that I have. Of course, each performance is unique, but I think there were 6 or 7 tunes, and I have a list of those. There was among those, there was a real standout, a performance of Night in Tunisia that was unbelievable. It was
Oh.
really, really wild.
You know, Max Roach, what he would do when Hassan would come in to visit him, he would turn on the tape and go in the other room and just let Hassan play. Hassan would play sometime all night.
Huh.
He was so energetic. I don't know where he get all the energy from to practice, but yeah, Max really loved Hassan. You know, he tried to do anything possible to make Hassan's life better for him as well as his family. And I think he did a tremendous job.
Well, we have another nice thing here from someone. Oh, this is Ellen Diamond again. May I just say what a wonderful thing it is to hear Odin speak. One can feel and hear the years of his music making in his face and his voice. I feel very lucky to be here. Oh, well, we're very glad you're here, Ellen, for sure. Now we have one from Yanni Kroll to everyone. Does anyone know where Hassan is buried? I'm a reporter for The Key, which is a music news site under the WXPN umbrella, and he's done a couple of articles about famous Philadelphia musician grave sites. Was hoping to write about Hassan, but couldn't figure out where he's buried. Odin?
Yes, he was buried someplace around 8th and Paris because Alan gave me $1,000 to bury him. Alan was so generous, you know, like he's very special in terms of the tremendous support that he gave Hassan, as well as I was just blown away when he said, well, Odin, I'm gonna give you some money to bury Hassan, because there was his mother and father got burned up on my birthday.
Yeah, well, yeah, he had told, Odin had told me about that, Alan. That was such a sweet thing to do. Okay, here's one from a gentleman from Germany, Odilo Klausnitzer. I hope I said that correctly. What were the inspirations behind Hassan's experimenting with voicings and harmonic extensions? I heard he began as a boogie pianist. What turned him into a modernist?
Well, Hassan in the beginning, he was playing that Count Basie. He was playing the boogie woogie, and you know that's when he was William Langford. He was playing the boogie woogie, and he was great at that. You know, because he periodically, sometimes he would just strike out and start playing it. Okay. Even though when he was advanced, he would say, "How you like this?" And he would just start playing the boogie woogie and the Count Basie. In fact, they used to call him Count.
Oh, really?
They used to call him Count because he sounded just like Count Basie.
All right, we have another question here from Bobby Zankel. Hey, Bobby. Cecil Taylor told me that when he came to Philly to play, Hassan came by. Do you know anything about his relationship with Cecil Taylor? Anyone?
Well, I asked him once, right after I think I first heard Cecil Taylor on record, which was the record he made with John Coltrane and Kenny Dorham, if I remember correctly. And I asked Hassan, do you know Cecil Taylor? And he said no, he didn't know who he was. Whether that was correct or not, or I remember, or whether I heard him right or not, I don't know. But that's what I recall. And that would have been around 63, probably.
Well,
62.
Okay. Who introduced, this is from Bertrand Uberall again, who introduced Hassan to Max Roach?
Who introduced?
Yeah,
Hassan was playing in the village. And in fact, Atlantic Records, when we recorded this, they brought us to New York and we stayed 2 weeks to work out all details. And before that, Hassan was playing in the village and Max heard him. And from that period, that was the really great association between Max and Hassan and Manali.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we're getting a lot of history here. Okay. Well, what we're going to do, since we're running out of time a little bit, I'm going to show you some websites that you can go to, Lex, and then we're gonna go out with a song, one called Viceroy. After we get done a little bit of business here. So Lex, put up. Okay, here we go. This is the direct URL where you can go and buy the recordings or the CD from Omnivore Recordings, and the one below that is Odin's website, where you can really get to know Odin's music and buy his CDs and his records and that sort of thing. And I mean, Odin is so complex. I mean, every time I go to his site, I spend an hour there. And the URL on the bottom is our website, the PhiladelphiaJazzHistory.org. PhillyJazzHistory.org is our website, and you can also go on to our YouTube channel, which is at Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project, if you just put that in Google. Okay, now, the second thing, I got to make a pitch before we, and here I'm going to read it. Your tax-deductible donation will help the community build the Philadelphia Jazz Archive for everyone to enjoy. So I'm making my big ask. Please donate $5, $10, whatever you got, and it will help us put this together the way it should have been years ago. Philadelphia needs its own archives, and it looks like it's going to be at Temple University, and that's where we're storing everything we've collected so far. Now, let's go out. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Cheryl. I want to thank Alan, Odin, and Lex, and everyone who signed on tonight. And we're going to hear Viceroy. It's the shorter version, but it's still on the record when you buy it. Go ahead, Lex, let her rip.